You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. It's actually technically Sunday, January 17th, 2016, but I am technically going to consider this, at this point, my Monday show. Just make it simple. I've been trying to do shows on this new setup I have, adding this, Star Wars laptop, which actually gives much better quality sound for some reason with that Windows 10. And I don't know if I mentioned that before, but it's actually Audacity, which is a free program for anybody who wants to use it. So I basically was got the idea. I did some research, and a guy on YouTube actually suggested the setup I have right now. Not the computer, but at least everything else. Real quick, is in case I lose this, and I'll try to keep an ear out for any background noise. This guy actually, he puts up really cool stuff. Actually, I need to like him because I like his stuff. Stephen Joe, musician and band member, I guess. He puts up some really cool stuff. I didn't realize that I've actually pulled things from his page before, and most of it's really funny, very interesting. So I got to give a plug to this guy, Stephen Joe. It's really cool, the stuff he puts up. By the looks of it, he must be from the West Coast because I see palm trees and stuff. So my assumption is he's probably from somewhere out in California. But I like his stuff. So I want to give him a plug, obviously. I got a couple different things I'd like to talk about. One, by the way, from Stephen Joe was, and if I haven't mentioned again, it's January 17th. It's Sunday, but I'm going to consider this my Monday's morning show at this point. By the time I'm done everything, it will be Monday anyhow. He put something up, I guess. It said it gave him goosebumps, but some girls in a gymnasium. I'm not sure exactly where. He put up a video. If he did it or if somebody else did from a high school that kind of incorporated girls in a dance routine on the gymnasium floor with some people that some young girls that had were wheel bound, had no use of, they couldn't use their legs or had some other issues, and it was pretty heartwarming. So he puts up a lot of different stuff. Obviously that's not a funny story. It's actually kind of heartwarming, very heartwarming, but he puts up some really good videos. I mean, I got to give him credit for that. A lot of credit, actually. I might have mentioned this before. This is the first time I am using my headset. I normally never do. But I'm running it through my amp box. The amp box I actually got on eBay, brand new. It's about $150. Just reiterating what I might have mentioned before. Basically, I hate to say it, but they actually are really good headset. I got a pair of those Beats headsets, and I didn't pay full price. I got these, I think it was about $100. So these are an older model that were in really good shape. I forget if I got them on Amazon or eBay. And, I was always thinking it's a lot of hype, but you can hear a difference. Beats actually do come in better if you're looking for a deeper quality bass, richer sound. You're going to get those out of the Beats. I think the price is just ridiculous what they charge, but they are really good headsets. again, I'm using this Star Wars limited edition laptop, which I got, basically $300 off the normal price because the person didn't mention. They said it was brand new and remanufactured by HP, but it actually was just something they did not want. So they basically deducted $300 off the price of what it cost him to buy it. The headset and mic, even the mic stand or the clamp thing that holds my mic was $10. It's one you clamp to your desk. The mic itself, I can't remember when I bought it. Was like $60, $50, $50. And basically, the cover for on top, the foam cover, was a pack of them, which I still have a ton more. And that was only like $3 or $4, I think. So it's not a very expensive setup if you ever were interested, once again, to do your own type of podcast. I want to reach out. Maybe I'll just take a quick look. I wasn't going to do this, but I will now on Spreaker without making too much noise, because now I can actually hear myself and see my stats. Because actually I want to thank some people. Some people have actually been down, 2 downloads yesterday and 2 downloads. Somebody's been downloading the show, which I don't mind. I prefer if they actually listen to it, that I actually get more out of it, so to speak. But I have to thank the people once again. It says 96.3% are from the United States. I actually increased in France. I got 3% share of listeners, which is probably at least you're tuning in for a few minutes, a few seconds, who knows, but I don't mind. And I had a higher percentage, but that dropped for Cambodia. Sometimes I do get other countries. I've gotten England before. Maybe I'll just do a quick rundown on where the people are listening. And I want to thank them. 32.2% from Norristown. That could include me because I listen to my shows, make sure properly being dispersed online. Sound right, I should say. Philadelphia, PA, 22.6%. Dover, Delaware, 20%. Coatesville, Pennsylvania, 16.5%. Conshohocken, PA, 1.7%. Sewell, New Jersey, 1.7%. Woodbury, New Jersey is 1.7%. These are listeners that actually tune in. LaRock, Pennsylvania, I think it says, 0.9%. Pennsauken, New Jersey, 0.9%. And Bear, Delaware, United States, 0.9%. So whoever does tune in, I do appreciate. If you get anybody else to listen to me, I appreciate that, obviously, as well. So I want to thank those people. So if you're listening to me, I actually reciprocate and kind of, so to speak, listen back. I did make one mistake yesterday on my show. I was mentioned, because I do love that show, Supergirl. I love it a lot. I think it's really cool. But I mentioned that the one character was an African-American, and I was like, couldn't be even more wrong. The guy is actually not African-American. Yes, he is black, but it doesn't mean he's African-American automatically. But he's bottom line, he's a great actor. He plays a Martian, but the guy actually is... sorry, I'm reading the email. A friend wants me to do a podcast with him, friend Monty. And he says, we will meet up this winter. Be good to talk to you. Talk to you soon. Yeah, he's actually British. And I don't understand that sometimes because there's actually the guy from Star Wars Force Awakens who's black, but he's actually from Britain, and they made him take on an American accent, which I think I would have preferred him with his normal voice. And that's the same thing also with Superman. It's like they get a lot of British actors for a lot of different things. Like one, for instance, she's not black, she's Australian though, is which I really like her, I love her, is Toni Collette. She's like, I have a Love Jones for her, but when you hear her real voice, it just really just kind of blows your mind, because she's like Australian or something like that. I think she's Australian though. But a lot of these actors, they have to fake their voice put on an American accent, which apparently is very easy for a lot of these people to do. I can't say the same for me. I don't think I could fake their accent. It would be very difficult. Actually, technically, we are the ones with the accent, not them. Yeah, my friend Todd did send me this article, and no, it's not a dark one. I keep on looking aside so I can actually catch myself now. My voice gets lower because it gets actually, because I will speak away from the mic. I said that it gets lower or something like that. Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake there too. I make many mistakes. I'll admit to that. I'm not a very good reader of the news, but fortunately, it does seem to make for a show. So that's the reason I continue to do it. Anyway, this was actually a good one from RollingStones.com. He found it says, see Rick Springfield's Fields. Rick Springfield, the singer of Jesse's Girl, back in the 70s. He was on 80s. He was on General Hospital. I saw him. He's a very nice man. He's also got a British accent, so to speak, too, even though he's technically American, because his father was in the military and spent most of his time everywhere except the U.S. When he was younger, and I think he never lost the accent. Rick Springfield. Really nice man. He's 66 now. But there's an article that says, see Rick Springfield's massive Star Wars toy collection. Jesse's Girl singer show shows us his impressive action figure basically collection, exclusive Rolling Stones video. I could not get it to play for some reason. Anyway, the man's 66. It makes me feel a little bit better. So, everybody has their hobbies, give or take what they are. And I myself am very shocked to find out that Rick Springfield collects action figures and toys. When I was in the Disney store, actually, on Sunday or Saturday, and I was impressed that most of the people, were hovering over the action figures and the Star Wars toys were all adults. Now, it makes it easier because, it's like a joke in a Subway commercial where you pass it on that it's your kids who collect all this stuff when it's really actually the adult who's collecting it. They just pretend it's for their kids because there's that Subway commercial that kind of gives that point out. And seeing in the store, there was one guy with his kids, and I was like, dude, you're getting this stuff for yourself. You're not getting it for your kids. And there's just people like myself who are going in there with no kids and just pretend, they can't even pretend, you're getting it for yourself. You're buying these action figure toys if you buy any. I didn't buy any, but you're buying it for yourself. So I'm sure they see that a lot. That was at the Disney store over in that Philadelphia outlet. Anyway, it says, consider that he's been a rock icon for 30 years. It's hard to imagine that there are too many sides of Rick Springfield that we haven't already seen yet. Because a man, again, is saying Jesse's Girl, who's been on Moonlighting as an actor since the 70s and recently stepped up on-screen game. He stepped up his on-screen game in a role in True Detectives and Ricky, and also The Flash, which I didn't know because I haven't watched all of The Flash. I'm not going to read this whole article, but it is still he's still full of surprises at 66. One did not see one come in shock, in particular that Springfield owns one of the world's biggest collections of Star Wars action figures. It actually says that. So, yeah, it says on the contrary that this couldn't hardly be more serious, as we saw for ourselves when the musician invited Rolling Stone into the Malibu home for an exclusive look at his most prized possessions. I've always been a toy freak, he admits, reflecting on how the first installment of George Lucas' space opera came out when he was at the perfect age to appreciate the merchandise. So that's really cool because I'm like almost pushing 50. He's pushing almost 70. He has a house he can put his stuff in. Me, I have a small room. Anyway, it goes on to say that there was the start of a lifelong passion and his collection now includes everything from the common Luke Skywalker edition, Turkish bootlegs, and the Blue Star model, so rare that it's worth the down payment on a small house. So, yeah, that's why I kind of collected recently. I told my friend Matt, I did not like the movie. I badmouthed the movie severely. Of the new one, The Force Awakens, I truly did think it was all right, but honestly, I did like the villain. It was like an upboot. I didn't necessarily like him at first, to be honest. I didn't particularly was too fond of the actor, but I've seen him in a different light. Actually, what really kind of made me take a second look, more so, was he did Saturday Night Live, which I haven't liked Saturday Night Live since the 70s. Probably I did like it, actually, honestly, with, who was that comedian, the black comedian? I can't remember. I loved him. Everybody loved him, though, because he had the foul mouth. But he was really, really funny. My mother loves him because he does a lot of movies. He's in a lot of makeup, playing multiple characters. I'm just drawing a blank. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. Actually, there's a black comedian on right now. He's really good. I actually like him a lot, too. They got a lot of different black comedians on the new Saturday Night Live, and I hate to say it, it's been the first time in years that I've actually laughed at the show. Even the news segment was really good for a change. I never really liked the news on Saturday Night Live. I thought it was funny, but hey, that's just me. I'm trying to think. He did Norbit, so I'm trying to look up the actor's name. Okay, Eddie Murphy. Yeah, I think Eddie Murphy was the only other time in the history of Saturday Night Live that I've actually liked it. And I haven't liked it up until when I saw Adam Driver, which I don't know if he's actually related to Minnie Driver. I know I should look that up. But Adam Driver actually just basically stole Saturday Night Live for Saturday night, the Saturday night show. The only thing I didn't like was the last skit, but most of the skits he did were really, really funny. The one on Kylo Ren I must have watched at least 3 or 4 times. I liked it that much. I was able to watch the whole entire show from Saturday night on NBC. You just kind of suffer through the commercials, which wasn't that bad, and it was the entire show. I mean, even the singer or musician it was on was good too. Which, honestly, I haven't seen that in such a long time that I've actually liked a Saturday Night Live show. I can't say I've liked a whole entire one for a long time, but that one was really good. But getting back, I went astray like I always do. Kylo Ren, the character, is just a really kind of well thought out. I didn't like the fact that they kind of spilled their beans and showed his face so quickly. But reading a lot of information on how the character has boggled everybody's mind. They're kind of doing the reverse with Kylo Ren, where stating that Kylo Ren is actually taking the same path as his grandfather did, so to speak, which would be Anakin Skywalker. Kylo Ren had no scars to become evil, but he is basically picking up the torch from his grandfather, who would have been Anakin Skywalker, a.k.a. Darth Vader. And at the very end, I didn't kind of put 2 and 2 together. He was starting to get kind of banged up, so to speak. He at least got some scars on his face. So, yeah, it's an interesting character. I just really didn't understand it that much until I was able to, kind of dive deeper. So it is definitely the first Star Wars that I've seen since the original one that I've seen more than once. I will tell you honestly, and this is the honest truth, I bought them just to have them years ago, were the prequels to the ones Lucas did, but I never had I never needed to watch them again. I just got them for strictly, for the collector's reason, and that was it. Sorry, I don't mean to be flicking my mouth like that. Personally, I think that this one is one, once I pre-ordered it, I probably will watch a few more times at least. It's just, hey, everything doesn't have to be about true-to-life situations or how movies reflect on life, because the whole purpose of movies being made in the first place is just, a suspension of disbelief, something that takes your mind off of everyday reality. Now, I know everything in real life now is like that. Unfortunately, nobody wants to be in, real life anymore. But sometimes you kind of need that just to get your mind. There's too many people, anymore than just recently. I mean, it's just like people have been dropping off like flies, and it's all because of cancer. And one of the lead-in causes of cancer is a lot of stress, in my opinion. At least everybody has cancer throughout their body. That's inactive, it's dormant, but it does get, becomes not dormant or reacts to the amount of stress in one's life. So if this simple vice of mine, I don't have any other ones. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never did. And I've never, ever did any type of drug. I never got into that whole scene of doing drugs. So, hey, my only vice is movies and entertainment. And if that makes me an addict of, escapism, shoot me for it. But, hey, it's not harming anybody else absolutely at all. It's actually probably making, as my friend Matt would say, making other people more rich. I'm just saying that. I'm sure he said, I never said that. No, you didn't, but I'm just saying that hypothetically. Anyway, it says, needless to say, we are blown away, but to find out that how impressive it is to the world of a hardcore toy freaks, to the hardcore toy freaks. We went to Sotheby's and spoke to a dedicated fanboy behind the auction house massive Star Wars sale. Return of... It says NIGO. I don't know what that is. It turns out that they were generally awed by that Springfield. I kind of misread that. I understand that. But anyway, this place that basically is for people to buy, toys, science fiction toys, whatever. They were this place. I guess that's what it's abbreviated for something. It's NIGO. They sell a lot of Star Wars stuff, I guess. It turns out that they were generally awed by that Springfield has been hiding in his closet, where they're perfectly preserved inside the plastic cases. See, I take everything out. They're cheesy figures, Springfield lasts. They're badly painted, badly made. The only cool thing is the great artwork. So just how hyped is Springfield for this month's release of The Force Awakens? I actually like the toys more than I like the movie. And yeah, I guess that's for a lot of people. I actually, for some reason, I've been really fascinated by the character Kylo Ren. I think the main reason is, if I have to pick, okay, can you explain why you like Rick's, sorry about that, why you like that character so much of Kylo Ren? Actually, yes, I could come up with something. And I think the reason is because he has a extremely bad temper. How bad is his temper? Well, his temper was bad enough to basically want to kill people. And he's just like, it's like that adolescent anger, which I've had. I mean, God, when I was younger, my temper was extremely bad. It was uncontrollable. And to the point that I know I flipped out when I was in my 20s, and I got mad at a girlfriend who broke up with me over the phone. She couldn't do it in person. She just basically put no effort into it, and basically called me up and says I'm not interested anymore or something. I got so pissed off. I literally, in the apartment, I walked through the wall. It was drywall, but it was too it was from one room to the next. I got so pissed off at her. I literally just lost my temper. Probably just as bad, believe it or not, as the character of Kylo Ren. And I literally They said they don't even know how I did it or how I was even still standing. But, when your, what do you call it, kicks in, it really kicks in the stuff that gives you that Superman strength. And I was beyond pissed. So, yeah, I guess I can relate to a character, even though it's some science fiction character made up. But a lot of characters that are fiction I'm trying to think of the right word, that are not real-to-life people, are actually probably based upon something that was, stemmed from the truth. So I guess that's why I really just kind of can, attach myself to this character of Kylo Ren, because that was me when I was younger. I don't have the force of the dark side on me, or I can't lift people, with telepathy or whatever. But I do have, a past that is pretty ugly. So, that was something that just kind of drew me to that character. And talking about somebody with a bad temper, there was one on the morning call, and it's a Freemansburg man who beat pet cat to death is evil, vicious, prosecutor said. Now, I don't know if I can get through reading this one, simply because, the way I read things, I always screw them up. But also, some of this stuff, just a word of warning, as I read through it initially, is very disturbing. This is like sadistic, disturbing, and I'm not even kidding. This was on January 15th. The crime scene photographs spoke to just how cruel Scott A. Debtor was when he beat to death his former girlfriend's pet cat. I don't understand how these people actually hook up like these. I think me and my friend Matt actually figured it out, and I forgot what he said, so I apologize, Matt. How, like, these girls always go for these really monsters for men, and, like, we have no luck at all. Now, I just said I was a monster when I was a kid, but as a young adult, but I didn't go this far that I actually tore something apart, because he literally did. Picture after picture showed bloodstains on the walls of the Freesburg apartment where Debtor had slammed the cat's body. There was more blood stains in the bathroom and the bathtub full of the cat's black fur, where Debtor told police he had dunked the pet because he didn't like water. The cat didn't like water. Other photos focused on the cat's carcass, showing it was still wet, bones protruding from its body. I told you it's pretty bad. Its stomach burst from the impact of the blows it had suffered. One of the cat's eyes was knocked out of its socket, Northampton County Assistant District Attorney Richard Pepper said. Pepper showed the pictures in the court Friday as Debtor faced sentencing for animal cruelty for beating that the prosecutor said demonstrates just what type of person the 24-year-old of Bethlehem man is. This evil, vicious person, Pepper told Senior Judge Leonard Zetto, I can't imagine a more brutal and vicious killing of an animal that would happen to this by this man's hands. Her hand, I guess it says. Though Debtor's defense attorney argued that it is a troubled and misguided man who needs treatment, Zetto said he agreed with Pepper's darkest assessment. Zetto sentenced Debtor to a state prison where he serves 16 months to 22 to 3 years of cruelty on a cruelty case and a separate conviction for criminal mischief. Mr. Debtor is a person who is simply not in control of himself, unfortunately, and he committed a heinous act, Zetto said. Now, just imagine if he did this to a cat, what he could do to a human being. That's what I'd be wondering. Early July 7th, Freemansburg officers were called to Debtor's former home on Ramblewood Lane to find that he had killed the 1-year-old cat belonging to his girlfriend, Andrea Marcus. The cat's body was lying on the living room floor, and Debtor was packing his clothes to leave, police said. He admitted to the abuse to the officer, saying the cat had scratched him, police said. Earlier that night, Marguerite and the other another woman had gone out, leaving debtor alone at home. He later sent them a text saying he had just injured the pet. Well, more than that. Explicit, your cat that attacked me, debtor wrote, according to Pepper. Well, this is a pretty long one, so I'm just going to kind of cut to the chase. The very last, because there's more if you are interested in reading this morbid story. Under Zeto's sentence, debtor will be on probation for 3 years once he completes his prison time. He'll also owe $2,600 in for damages to his roommate's belongings. That was kind of a disturbing story, but I had to have a follow-up for the Kylo Ren. That guy definitely had a Kylo Ren problem. It was another one that I wanted to mention with just people just being irresponsible. Because my one friend Matt always asked me, who do you mean when you talk about people who say stuff about me? I honestly, it's indirectly just a generalized statement. Names aren't necessary, and it actually is not pertaining to anyone in particular. What do you call it? I just, because in my general situations in everyday life is what I base my stuff upon. And people don't always directly have to say something, because they see that's the way you get away with stuff. If you don't directly say, oh, you're an asshole, or I don't like you, they can get away with a lot more, because that's called nonverbal communication. It's the nonverbal communication which does exist, which people seem to want to deny, that bothers me the most. So anyway, I just went off on a little small tangent there. There was a story from the Daily Mail. I actually found it myself. It was posted. I'm surprised. No, it wasn't from Todd. Mother of 12 on 40,000 pounds a year benefits. So this was in England. Plans to spend 4,000 pounds of taxpayers' cash on a boob job to boost her assets to D cups. So she feels she's believe it or not, no, I'm not going to say that. And let me just erase that, even though it's been said. She's a Caucasian woman from England, and her husband is also Caucasian. And neither one of them actually are being held accountable or being responsible for their lives. She's like, she's 33, he's 31. So anyway, I kind of did, I found some calculator that, 40,000 pounds in U.S. dollars, believe it or not, is close to $60,000. It's more like 59 almost. So that $4,000 or 4,000 pound, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's not working. Boob job she once done that it actually clearly states is going to be paid by the people of England is close to a $6,000 breast augmentation, breast enlargement boob job. So, and I mean, I hate to say it. I have to just get this off my chest. But I'll get accused. Anybody in particular? No, but I will hear it from my mother. That'll be one person I'll mention. I might hear it from other people, too. Again, it's a generalized statement, so I'm just making that clear now. But I'll get, little bit of snarkiness from, okay, you buy too many toys. You're not being responsible. But here, I mean, this is one isolated case in England. I think this is also the case in the U.S. as well, because you have that woman who had kids and the woman from Texas, and she basically spent her whole life savings, which probably was money that she got from being on, my guess is, they didn't kind of say it, but they kind of insinuate it. She might have been on, government assistance. She spent all her money to try to win $1.6 billion in that lotto, had lost, and then people came because she was a female, that old damsel in distress, and she put up GoFundMe, and she got $800 within like an hour before they had taken it down because people were also kind of pissed at the same time. So anyway, with this case I'm mentioning was from the Daily Mail, was from the 17th of January. Once again, the mother of 12 on 40,000 pounds a year benefits plans to spend 4,000 pounds it says, taxpayers' cash on a boob job just to boost her assets to D cups. So, I mean, you talk about, that is truly irresponsible. Me spending money ridiculously on one individual is fine, but if I had 12 mouths to feed and I'm basically catering to them and just basically thinking that I am owed this and I could do whatever the fuck I want to do and that everyone else should be paying for me, I would certainly hear about that in a heartbeat, trust me. It says Cheryl Prudman, 33, plans to use the benefits cash for a $4,000 boob job. The mother of 12 of Lancashire to have opt next month in Liverpool. She says she's fed up with her saggy breasts since giving birth last June. Family rakes in over 40,000 pounds a year in benefits and lives in a 5-bedroom home. Now, you know what? Just last year, I actually did go. I was thinking of getting liposuction because there's that certain amount of fat when you get older that just does not go away. Now, imagine me being on government assistance, basically Obamacare, and you basically get my income from taxpayers, and me not even holding a position at a job. And then saying, now that would have cost me, I think, about $2,000 or something like that. And I would have taken $2,000 from taxpayers for me to get that liposuction done. It was something like that. Would you not think I would have not heard about that from somebody saying, this is not fair? So, you can't play two-side issue, good cop, bad cop, or, well, that's different because, she's a single mom, or she is actually married, but she's just not willing to work, her or her husband. But what I'm going to gather, because I honestly didn't read the whole thing, but that's different. No, it is not different. Trust me, it is not different at all. She's got a roof over her head. She's got a husband and 12 kids, which she is not paying out of pocket anything. It's coming from taxpayers' pockets. And now she's going to get breast augmentation for D-cup breast. So that makes a lot of fucking sense to me. No, it doesn't. A mother of 12 claims, again, according to the story, 40,000 pounds a year in benefits, planning to use 4,000 of the taxpayers' money, once again, cash for a boob job, to boost her size to a D cup. Cheryl Prudham, 33, of Lancashire, is expected to have the operation next month at MAY Cosmetic Surgery Clinic in Liverpool. The headline-grabbing mother, who has appeared in Channel 5 documentary, has previously sparked controversy for admitting that she has no guilt about claiming so much of taxpayers' money to do support on her large family. So she doesn't even feel guilty about it. Now, this is in England, and no offense, her husband looks like a real piece of shit. No offense. According to the Daily Star Sunday, Mrs. Prudham has told her friends she's fed up with her saggy breasts following the birth of her 12th child last summer and wants to model herself of Katie Price, a.k.a. Jordan. The source told them Cheryl can't wait to have her boobs done and wants them modeled of Katie's, which I even have no clue who that is. She doesn't feel very sexy after 12 children and has always admired Katie for her lovely feminine figure. Cheryl has been joking, shall sure be the Katie Price of where she lives in Yorkshire. Delighted she's managed to get the opt pretty much for free. Miss Prudham and her husband Robert have been previously admitted claiming £800 per week in benefits, the equivalent of £5,600 a year salary before taxes, which is topped by Mrs. Prudham's £250 a week pizza delivery wage. Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. So apparently she must have some pizza delivery job. I thought she didn't work at all. But she's still basically sponging off the government money that she shouldn't be allowed to have. That actually explains it, because I know in our country you have people who looked like they must work, but they're also, in addition, basically getting money from the government. So this is one of those cases. It's that supplemental income. Yeah, it says something. They managed to avoid the government's £26,000 a year cap on the state's households because Mrs. Prudham works enough hours to claim work and tax credits. So she found a way to cheat the government in England, obviously. When her 12th child, Tilly Grace, now 4 months old, was born, Prudham sparked outrage for saying she was too tired to push and choose a C-section, something which cost the NHS over £2,500 compared to £1,000 for natural birth. So, I mean, all around. Previously reported, though, last October, she sought out a tummy tuck operation on NHS because childbirth gave her a saggy skin. So there you go. She even got her paid plastic surgery done, too, which I didn't know she had that. The family, who lives in a 5-bedroom house, say they have been verbally abused after admitting they spent portions of their benefits on foreign holidays, designer handbags, and lavish presents for their kids. So there's even a video for this one, too. So they are really taking advantage of the system. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I think that's more disturbing than anything that could be pushed or blamed on me. Mrs. Prudham previously admitted that she had spent over $1,300 on a birthday present for her son's 6th birthday, but says those with the option can get stuck. With opinions can get stuffed. So she just basically tells people to go fuck themselves. So that makes no sense to me. Once again, you know, she's like literally, she's making, you know, she's got a job as a pizza delivery person. She's got 12 kids, and then she's also basically taken from the country of England £60,000 a year almost. Let me double check that. £40,000 a year in addition. So, I mean, that's more should be looked at, because I'm sure the same things happen in our country. People are just not, you know, again, general statement, are more inclined to focus on my faults and issues that will correct the whole system, even in the U.S., which it's not, because the stuff I do is truly trivial to what's going on around the globe. Anyway, the 33-year-old has admitted that she's addicted to having babies and had her first child, George, now 15, when she was only 17 years old. Prudham had her first son, George, 13. Well, what is this saying? Okay. The 33-year-old, let me reread that. The 33-year-old admitted that she is addicted to having babies. She had her first child, and she was George, now 15, when she was 17. So this doesn't make any sense, because then it says her first son, George, 13, when she was 17, and was living in a homeless hostel in Kent in the summer of 2000. So she was basically homeless at 17 and basically getting pregnant and got addicted to having kids. She soon moved into a flat with her ex-boyfriend and had a second son, Jack, 12, and her eldest daughter, Caitlin, 8. She then had 3 unplanned pregnancies: Macy, 7, Lily, 5, and Mason, 4. In March 2009, she met her current husband, Rob, and they had Leon, now 3. They then had Lenny, now 2, before she gave birth to her daughter, Lainey, in January last year. She then had twins Lacey May and Lexi Rose last autumn, followed by Tilly Grace this past June. So that is that story. I actually did suffer through that, made other people suffer through it too. I just think that, personally, I think the whole thing is just kind of ridiculous. And that will get, seriously, that'll get overlooked. Apparently that's not an issue. The issue somehow in this cosmic world of ours will kind of get somehow, in some way, some form, and again, it is truly just a general statement, will get placed on me. And how's that change the situation? My guesstimation is by blaming others for this chaos in our world just makes it more plausible that, well, since we found the culprit for all these problems, now we don't have to go any further, and the situation is now been worked out. But honestly, blaming and I'm just using myself. Like, I got to make myself very clear right now. I'm just using myself as an example because I'm the only one I know. I don't go out. I don't communicate honestly with anybody. I haven't been at work. So they're going to say, so how do you know anybody's blaming you? Well, you can tell just by what I mentioned earlier, by the way people react to your presence. They don't have to say a damn thing for you to figure that out. Trust me, there's just certain things you just kind of know. And, I don't think anybody else would be subjected, if it happens, I'm not saying it will, but anybody else would be subjected to the tyranny I sometimes get. And I'm not, trust me, I get it at work too. I haven't been at work for 4 months, but certain things, the negative seems to always outweigh anything else anyway. So, it gets me annoyed by the situation where, you got this kind of garbage in our country, and in our, not even our country, and just in our world alone. And how, it just seems the easier way out of things. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about, but the situation is easier to be pushed. And, that's where the word scapegoat came up, I think. Well, it actually came from Christ being punished for our sins or blamed for all the sins of mankind and him paying the price for it. Well, that's not just him. That's me and probably, my guess, other people. And do the people that are the true sinners ever get blamed or take responsibility for their for them not being responsible for anything they do? No, it always gets pushed on somebody else. And who usually gets blamed? It's the person who can't defend themselves. Now, you're going to probably say, well, can't you defend yourself? Well, obviously I can't, because I'm the type of person who, to many people, is a pushover, and they take advantage of that fact. And that's the people who suffer the most, or the people who try to be the nice guy, try not to start trouble or waves, but yet get blamed for everything, and thus become the scapegoat for other problems in the universe, life, and everything. I'm being sarcastic there. Anyway, I just got to break this up. I didn't even hear about it. There's some website called If Only. It's basically a fundraising type thing, and they got one now for Sony Picture Televisions. Behind-the-scene tour of Sony Picture Television with Chairman Steve Moscow. So, bid now, and the bid is at $600. It's going to be on for 18 more days. So, I guess there's increments of $600. So, there's one right now. They had one for David Lynch years ago. It's basically, it's a fundraising type thing. That if you win, if you get, I guess you're the highest bidder, This one for Sony will take you behind the scenes of Steve Moscow, chairman of Sony Television, out in L.A. Lunch at the studio commissionary experience is for 2 people. An experience is at the Sony Pictures Studio lot in city of California. Experience, it lasts between 1 to 2 hours. It says read the fine print will be scheduled on a mutually agreeable date, time based on the luminary's availability. Please enter preferred dates above. The experience is non-refundable after scheduling is completed, and by clicking the place bid, you agree to the terms. So it's kind of sad because you're not actually guaranteed that, because it is an auction type thing. And it says the current highest bid is $500. That's why you have to. So you're bidding on something that you're not guaranteed to win, and they're going to have to even pay for your own accommodations to get out of there, get out to California. Which probably I've done it years ago. I went out to California, not for this, but it can't be that easy and that cheap nowadays, especially. So I actually put this up. It was kind of funny. This next thing I'm looking at, next story, it was from Pennsylvania. It was from boredomtherapy.com. This Pennsylvania town used to be a wonderful place to live until everything left overnight. And I kind of made a joke. It was like, yeah, probably from the migrants and the illegals moving into this area of Pennsylvania, they kind of drew everybody out. No, that's not the case. I was being sarcastic anyway. It says America might be a relatively young country, but already accumulated plenty of strange history. It has accumulated strange history across its vast expanse, and some of these stories are plenty dang weird. One in particular is a strange and tragic tale that took place in this quiet mining town of central Pennsylvania. It is where a simple mine fire began in 1962 and turned the town into the strangest place in the world. Basically, this fire had made it a place for people not to settle. I made the joke, and some friend tried to correct me. It's like, I'm making a joke. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Settled in 1841 and incorporated in 1866 to Centralia was a small town of a little over 1,000 people that based most of its economy on its mining. But due to these mining fires, people basically fled and never came back. There's even a sign still posted today. It says, warning, danger, underground mine fire. Walking or driving in this area could result in serious injury or death. Dangerous gases are present. Ground is prone to suddenly collapse. So it made it a very dangerous place. But it actually kept it well preserved, too. Because it has been touched by man. Anyway, I'll give you, it will be a happy belated birthday, but to Eartha Kitt, who played, I think, the second or third Catwoman from Batman, the TV series from back in the 60s. She was born January 17th, 1927, and she died December 25th in 2008. I got a couple more of those that I want to mention. She was like my least favorite Catwoman. Actors to play Catwoman. My favorite was actually the one that she still goes to conventions. She still is alive. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I actually adored her the most. Actually, happy birthday also to Andy Kaufman, January 17th, 1949 to May 16th, 1984. That was a strange death with him. Happy birthday to Betty White, January 17th, 1922, and she is still alive and kicking, which is great because I love her too. I was trying to go back. I might have already passed it because there were some other interesting stories actually on the Daily Mail. Actually, maybe I'll just read this one real quick. It's somewhere in my mix, but I'm just going to pull it up again. And this is no joke. I found this one myself. I'm proud of myself. Really not. Traveler sends handwritten plea for help to flight attendant about a nearby passenger farted in rows 10 and 12. This is no joke. This was actually in the Daily Mail. It says, I don't know if this was written on a napkin. This is the actual napkin. I don't know if you can make an announcement, but if you can, you should say that whoever is farting in the area of rows 10 and 12 should definitely see a doctor because they might have ass cancer. So the flatulence got so extremely bad, they actually wrote a note to the stewardess. Inconsiderate passengers may even make the smoothest of the flights a stressful experience. Just ask a disgruntled traveler who had took the issue with one particular neighbor in the areas of row 10 and 12 who kept passing gas during the journey. In fact, things got so bad at one point, the unhappy passenger even went as far as to pass a desperate note written on a napkin to the flight attendant. The plea for help was then posted to read it by a user, Garnwee20, who wrote, "My flight attendant mom got this napkin from an upset passenger. I don't know if you can make an announcement," the note read, "but you should say whoever is farting in the areas of rows 10 and 12 on this flight should definitely see a doctor because they have, quote-unquote, again, ass cancer." As it turns out, though, the situation may have been the fraudulent passenger's fault. University of Copenhagen clinical professor Jacob Rosenberg tells Metro that the average amount of times a person breaks wind each day is exacerbated in the air due to the drop in cabin pressure. This is no joke. Still being restricted to the confined space sure doesn't help matters. Of course, many of Reddit users were curious to whether the flight attendant actually made the announcement, which she did not. This isn't the first time flatulence has caused a trouble in the air. Just last November, on the 2nd, 186 goats caused a 747-400 freighter plane to make an emergency landing in Bali, Denpasar or something, after their gas of these goats allegedly set off the smoke alarms. So apparently the drop in cabin pressure causes you to leave more of that odorous, basically pass gas. So I was looking because there was an article on the little girl in that one show I like, and I don't know where they're coming up with these stories, but this one just kind of caught my attention. I wanted to add it to my list of things on Facebook because I really love her acting, this kid, on Girl Meets World, because I've talked about it before. I'd spoken about it before, and now she's on the Daily Mail, and it says, "I identify as queer." Girl Meets World star Rowan Blanchard, 14, reveals that she does not see herself as gay or straight in a series of Twitter posts. The bullet points is the actress, known for her role in Riley Matthews on The Girl Meets World, opened up about her sexuality in Twitter Saturday. Although she's only ever liked boys, the teen claims she doesn't want to label herself as and is open to liking any gender in the future. I don't know. This generation of kids, I have to really just bite my tongue on. It's kind of a disappointment that she's actually already, it shouldn't be a shock, but she's already going down that stream of political correctness, which I like to call political incorrectness. I mean, that's just crazy. A 14-year-old who is already making herself available and on that level is just ridiculous. I still hold, she's basically reading the script. So whoever the script writers are, I at least can side with them still. I can't say much about her anymore. But that's another kid that I'll have a disappointment in, which I should not. Yeah, I do have a lot of stuff. I just wanted to kind of wean it down, but I had thrown that other story in now. Should cut back a little bit. Oh, happy birthday to James Earl Jones, who had actually turned 85. He's like great. I love James Earl Jones. I loved him on The Big Bang Theory the couple times he was on there. I think it was like 2 episodes. He was really good, and obviously he played Darth Vader's voice. I think they kind of correct that problem, which I don't think was an issue, but it won't be an issue in the future, because I was thinking about this when I tried to go to sleep last night, that James Earl Jones is obviously the voice of Darth Vader, which was very clever to do that, and they got a different actor to play the actual physique of Darth Vader, because obviously George Lucas had somebody in mind of how he wanted or pictured Darth Vader to be, so he wanted to be as close as possible. That's why he picked different characters. But then it turns into a racial issue nowadays. So, that is not an issue, because they were smart by doing it in one way of showing Kylo Ren right away and using the same actor behind the mask and without the mask right away. So they made sure, I guess, not to be an issue as it was with the original storyline of Star Wars. So I got to give him credit for that. And I think he did a good job. Hey, Fox 29 actually had this story. A 12-year-old was reported missing from Philadelphia. I don't think it's the first time, but hey, it's a kid, so I got to say something. And it was actually posted January 17th on the Philadelphia News around here. Police in Philly are searching for a 12-year-old girl reported missing. They have a picture of her, cute kid. London Barbin Solemn was last seen in the area of Cheltenham Mall with her friends on Saturday, January 16th, 2016, approximately at 6:30 p.m. London has a medical condition that requires her to walk with a leg brace. London is 4 foot tall, 108 pounds, with brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a beige hoodie sweatshirt and and Bambi on the front, black pants, and blue sandals. Anyone with information on London's whereabouts is asked to please contact Northeast Detective Division at 215-686-335354. So, yeah, hopefully this kid shows up. I don't know what happened to her. Yeah, so I already read this story. There was a story from the Washington Star-News I found. Unbelievable. Hillary Clinton's campaign bus involved in deadly crash. So, no remorse from me here. And this was posted. Actually, this is an old story. It just got posted, though. Somebody dug it up out of the ruins. November 24th, 2015 was when it was originally posted. The ordeal began about 11:30 a.m. Friday morning along Interstate 81, which runs through the center of Scranton, PA, said state police spokeswoman. The Hillary Clinton's campaign tour bus was driving north when it ran off the road and crashed into a highway medium, turning on its side. I actually have a picture of it. I think it's kind of hilarious. I'm sorry, that's not a very nice thing to say, but I do find it funny, even though it's an old story. Yeah, I mentioned that one, too, about Betty White's birthday. There's a story my friend sent, Todd, from PIX11, man accused of fatally stabbed mother numerous times in Yonkers. Yonkers, a man was taken into custody and charged with a second-degree murder after police say he fatally stabbed his mother numerous times in Yonkers' apartment Saturday night. Yonkers is in New York. Police responded to a First Schroeder Street to find Dwayne R. McRae, 50, with multiple stab wounds. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Her son, 27-year-old Andre E. Coverdale, who was reportedly homeless, was arrested after an investigation. Coverdale is in custody at the Westchester County, and Valledale I can't pronounce that right. Anyway, the information, anyone with information can contact Detective Divisions at 914-377-7724. All calls will remain confidential. I have this story I found on Jessica Jones. Season 2, Jessica Jones 2 is a go on Netflix. I kind of did like it. I didn't like it that much, but it was an interesting show to watch. Breath of sight of relief, Jessica Jones fans. The show has been renewed for a second season. The series, which stars Kristen Ritter as the title heroine and Mike Coulter as her boyfriend, Luke Cage, who gets his own spin-off soon. This is eventually going to lead to some type of superhero where they all work together, as what I've understood. Took a bit longer than Daredevil for Netflix to hop on the second season, leading some to worry that this might be in danger, but Variety reports now it's a done deal. Jessica Jones, prior to Marvel's Defenders, that's what's going to eventually become, is this thing called the Defenders, slate popping up at Netflix, started its life as an AKA Jessica Jones originally developed for broadcast TV, with many of the same creative persons who would later bring a much more hardcore take to the video-on-demand service. No specific release date has been given for the second season, although it seems likely it will come in late 2016. Season 1 debuted in November of 2015, and Daredevil's second season comes roughly a year after its first. Work on Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Defenders is still humming along. I'm actually kind of interested when that's going to come about for even the Daredevil second season. Well, my friend Todd sent me this story, by the way, from unilad.com UK. It says, man drives 60 miles before realizing he had forgotten his wife at a petrol station. So that was pretty funny. It was actually on the 17th. A husband from South America was forced to face his fury of his wife after leaving her at a petrol station in Brazil and driving 60 miles before realizing and returning for her. That's pretty funny. The man who the Telegraph are referring to as Walter was driving back to Argentina following a family trip to a neighboring Brazil. So ironically, the person's name, they named him Walter. No joke. He stopped at a petrol station to fuel his car and take a toilet break. What Walter failed to realize is his wife, who had been sleeping on the back seat, also took an opportunity to stretch her legs. Walter and his 14-year-old son hit the road and drove 60 miles before noticing that Claudia, as she is reportedly called, was missing. That is really funny. So there you go. There's the Walter name. 2 frustrating hours passed for Claudia, who could not get a phone signal and call for her forgetful fella. Staff in the petrol station did not contact police, though, and they took her to a local station to await Walter's return. The Telegraph quoted a traffic officer from the Brazilian municipality of Passo Fundo, who said Claudia was more than a little bit annoyed by the situation, allegedly kicking the car. And there's a quote. He said she was very angry. She was moaning at him for taking so long to realize. There was no physical assault, though, but she was more upset when she saw her husband, basically. I don't know. That's actually pretty funny. So thank you, Todd, for that one. There was another birthday. I did miss this one. It was on Terror Time. There's a lot of places because the Master of Horror, happy birthday, John Carpenter. So his birthday was also in the mix of birthdays for January. days. That's pretty funny. There's another story from iHorror.com, once again on Rob Zombie. New Sherry Moon zombie stills from 31. I don't know what it is. Some people don't find her attractive, I guess. I didn't say a lot of people because I'm not one of them. I actually find her extremely attractive. You know, and I love Rob Zombie, but I think his wife is like ultra hot. Rob Zombie shares a new image from 31 across the social media today. This one shows Sherry Moon Zombie's character facing off against a sick head. So, this is sick head. I think she probably cuts it off. Anyway, give me a second. I just got to make sure my levels are okay. Alrighty, because I didn't realize the screensaver. Because now I can hear through my headset. I can now that I'm still recording. So I kind of taken that for granted. The stills have been following steady for months, and it's almost starting to feel like we've seen the film. 31 will premiere at Sundance. It recently received an R rating. It recently received an R rating after a talk of a possible NC-17. Here's a recently released poster in case you missed it. So it looks really cool, actually. I can't wait. Because Yoga Hosers will come out at the same time, probably. Got a really cool story from Fox 29 News. Boy gets prosthetic stormtrooper arm from a nonprofit group. Yes, a boy gets a prosthetic stormtrooper arm. So that's really cool. So the boy has an arm again, at least. Orange County, Florida, Fox 35, a nonprofit group, University of Central Florida, has given the child a boost of confidence with a high-tech prosthetic arm. They are designed on a computer and a 3D printer. Those 3D printers really do a lot. The boy in Nebraska is the latest person to receive a 3D arm, or received her 3D arms, and has a strong Star Wars connection. Alvin Garcia was born with one arm, but now this 10-year-old feels like a Star Wars action figure. Garcia just received a bionic prosthetic stormtrooper arm. Some popular Star Wars characters delivered the device to him at his school. Alvin is thrilled with his new arm. So that's like really, really cool. There's a little bit more to this story, not by too much. Hey, actually, this is pretty cool. The limbless solution tells Fox 35 the material costs $300 and $500 for the 3D printer arm. Printed arm. So it was $800 well spent, because now this kid actually has an arm he can use in addition to the one he was born with, because he was only born with one arm. So that's amazing. That 3D printer I thought was just a total waste when I first heard about this, but I hear more and more heart-wrenching stories of what people really do besides just make trinkets and toys with these 3D printers. They actually develop things of use. And generally it is these replacement limbs and stuff. So I tell you, it puts the mind of inventive people to like really good use. So I actually like hearing that. This was a story actually I found on Opposing Views. My next story. Kentucky reenacts work requirements for food stamps eligibility, which I agree with. I think other people should be doing this, other states. This was on January 15th. When the Great Recession swept across the United States between 2008 and 2009, several states waived work requirements for recipients of Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. As the economy has rebounded, some states and counties have reinstated their program, including 8 counties in Kentucky. The Associated Press reported via August Press that the food stamp recipients in Fayette, Jefferson, Bullitt, Darvis, Henderson, Hardin, Warren, and McCracken counties are now required to work part-time to be enrolled in the in an educational program or volunteer in order to keep their benefits. The change affects able-bodied adults between the ages of 18 and 50, meaning more than 17,000 will have to do one of those three options before an average of 20 hour. One of the three options for an average of 20 hours a week. So that's really cool. That they should have pushed this further. I think they're doing this now, probably more so the government would be, because it's around election time this year. The change was made based on unemployment rates, but 95 other counties have yet to reinstate the requestment. Ginny Carton, director of the Cabinet Division of Family Support, told the Lexington Herald Leader. Each beneficiary receives $194 every month, and the Department of Community-Based Services said that they will help those affected decide which course of action to take, according to the Lexington Herald Leader. As of December, more than 207,000 people in the state of Kentucky received SNAP benefits, but single able-bodied adults made up less than 10% of the numbers. I'm sure it's a bit more than that. You know, they're always going to play this hardship story that it's only a small percentage of able-bodied people who don't work, and I think that's probably more BS than the truth. Anyway, I mentioned this story a while back, but they brought it up again. It's a poor girl who got severely burned. She's cute. She's adorable, but she's really burned, and she lost an arm. Volunteers helped sort cards for a girl who lost her family in a fire. The little girl from New York who lost her family, and again in a fire, was initially captured the hearts of millions, and after the story went viral on social media during the holidays. Safri Terry had one wish for Christmas: to receive cards from around the world. That wish came true. Over 1 million cards were sent to her, and they keep on coming in. She's got cards from even Katy Perry and Obama family. Safri lost her father and 3 siblings in a house fire caused by arson. The young girl was found in the debris next to her dad, who used his body to shield her from the flames. Safri suffered severe burns, and in the months following the fire, she lost her right hand and her left foot. She now lives with her aunt, Liz Dollar. Her aunt purchased her a Christmas tree to hang cards on, and took to Facebook to share Safri's wish. She has received cards from every state in the U.S., Dubai or something like that, Australia, France, Brazil, and many other places. She really got them from all around the globe. That's really nice, though. It makes me feel bad. I didn't send her one. I didn't know there was a place you could send a card to her. Since the response has been so amazing, it's physically impossible for Safri to open all her cards. To help that, Safri Angels was created. People have set up shop inside a warehouse in Rotterdam, New York, to give her a hand opening on all her mail, basically her Christmas cards. And there's a quote where we will need volunteers daily for the next several weeks. We operate starting at 10 a.m. each day, 7 days a week. On weekdays, we plan to be here around 8 till 9 p.m., and on weekends, we usually open the mail from 4 to 5 p.m. or 5 p.m. Thank you to each and every person who has supported Safri. Safri, the group said on Facebook. So that's really cool. She's gotten letters from everywhere. Oh, there is actually, I apologize. God, I just put my foot in my mouth. There is actually, at the end of this thing, if you still want to send Christmas cards, you can send them to her. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right. It's really hard to say how to pronounce it. But it's Safyre. And her address is P.O. Box 6126. I'm going to have to actually spell this out because it'd probably be best because I can't pronounce it correctly. The place in New York where the cards go, or you can mail them to. It's spelled SCHENECTADY. Again, I don't even know how to pronounce that. That's the town. New York, 12306. It actually, do have it posted on my Facebook. It's on Fox News. So if you want to send this girl a card, which would be very lovely if you do, I'm sure she would appreciate it. The little girl who has been, just asking for people, I guess, to send her a Christmas card at least. So she's got over 1 million, but she can, it's just appreciation to, if you do. I know I'm being a little bit hypocritical, but that's very sweet that they people are doing that. There's this nonsense story I had to actually talk about. It is truly nonsense on serpentatorslayer.com. It's basically one of these things making more speculations on the character. One character, Snoke. Yeah, I think it's Snoke. I keep on saying it wrong. I actually did get to hear it. Snoke is the villain, the main villain, that Kylo Ren talks to in the new Star Wars. Now they're speculating, because I'll really fuck this one up, so I'm going to just basically say who the actor was, which was, I already forgot, and I should know this, who played Doctor Who in the movie. Peter Cushing. But I'm going to still type it up as this started. Yeah, because it's not coming up anyway. So, but it was Peter Cushing, by the way. They got everybody except Peter Cushing on the actors who played Doctor Who. So, no, okay, here it is, Peter Cushing. So, yeah, that being said, they're now insinuating that Peter Cushing could be Snoke. And it's like, okay, give it up already. Who knows who Snoke is? And these speculations are just getting really more and more bizarre. So now they're making an assumption that Snoke is actually the character that Peter Cushing played. So, yeah, I think that's just... It's like, when are you going to just say, okay, enough already? This is just ridiculous. I don't know. It's like nobody has anything else better to talk about. I mean, it's fun. Hey, it's fun to have an involvement in something. Because I know when I said this before with Doctor Who, I used to go to this get-togethers with Doctor Who fans when I was 12 years old and 17. We talked about everything else, and we made new friends that talked about, a little bit about Doctor Who and then other things. Anyway, I am done all my stories. I did want to put this other one in the mix, so I got to look it up right now, so I apologize. I actually did buy the disc on Amazon.com. I found the Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and I did find, actually, I was kind of straightening up my books on my bookshelf. I found the books that I bought, and I read the first one. The first Dirk Gently book, and I didn't really like it that much, and they did make a TV series. Honestly, the TV series personally had very little to do, from what I remember from the books, if anything. It was so loosely based. It's the only way you can put it. So, honestly, the actors were actually really good. The one guy who played Dirk Gently has an extremely good voice. And I think there was a sidekick that was not in the books that I remember, because there was like 2 books of Dirk Gently that was in this TV series. And I think he went on, actually, I saw him on some other TV show. I think it might have actually been, ironically enough, and it is an irony in some sense of the word, of Sherlock Holmes, the Sherlock series. Anyway, let me see. Dirk Gently TV series, because I got the main information. I just want to find out. It was only 4 episodes. Personally, I thought the show had some potential promising points, but overall, it was extremely, extremely bad. Again, it only lasted 4 episodes. TV.com gave it an 8.3 out of 10, and it was this other thing. IMDb actually gave it a rating of 7.8 out of 10, which is actually pretty impressive. It had some very small strands from the books, storyline, but very, very tiny smidgens, parts from the books, or at least the first book that I read, and that was kind of extremely annoying. But actually, it was funny because I think it was episode 3 was like, I'm very all over the place when I do my podcast. Well, this show was kind of that way also. Like, the storyline was just all over the place. Like, it didn't make any sense whatsoever, like I can. But then it kind of like boiled it down to a point at the very end that it made sense, which is kind of weird. It's like, well, you should have done that consistently throughout, these episodes, and it's probably why it was not picked up, because it was just very, not well put together as a storyline. And then for a conclusion, they actually did bring it together. So I'm looking at the guy who played the sidekick, Darren Boyd, and he's actually listed under Holy Flying Circus, which I thought was actually Marty Python. I guess it wasn't. Some show called Case Sensitive, Dirk Gently, Imagine Me and You, and Spy. But I could swear I saw him on, which he's not showing up, on Sherlock. Now, the guy who played Dirk Gently, believe it or not, he's actually like my age practically. He was born in 1968, though. And again, he has an extremely good voice. Very, very well-spoken man. But his name's Stephen Mangun. But I don't, because this is probably he's on obviously a lot of British shows. Dirk Gently was one of them. Green Wing, Postman Pat the movie, and Episodes, some show called Episodes, and some show called Rush. So I don't know any of those shows. But they were the 2 main actors. There was another reoccurring actress, Helen Baxendale. She played like a girlfriend of the one character. There was a girl who played the secretary on this show, a secretary to Dirk Gently, but she's not really listed, though, which is kind of weird. But yeah, the Dirk Gently series obviously got canned after 4 episodes. I would say mainly probably because the show, I liked the credits for the show. I thought they were pretty cool. I thought the actors were really good actors. I just thought the show was poorly kind of written, to say the least. I'm trying to look for that woman who played the secretary on the show, but not finding her at all. Maybe she didn't want to be affiliated. Now, the other problem was this was done just 3 years ago, way after the death of, I'm trying to think who wrote the books. Douglas Adams, I'm sorry. The Douglas Adams did. So that was the problem, too. I think if Douglas Adams was able to put his input, he would have said, listen, hey, I don't mind doing Dirk Gently as a TV series, but this is what you need to do. And I think if they would have had, obviously he had passed away even at that point. It was 10 or so years after his death, probably more like 12 years after he had passed away. There's nobody to consult with on how he would wanted this, done. At least with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, he was able to give his 2 cents and what he thought of how the show should be put together. And that's obviously why they will hold up, and they did hold up. Yeah, so the one thing I was going to say about Dirk Gently, the first episode had very loose ties to the books, because there was something about time travel I remember reading distinctly the first book, and that was incorporated. Something obviously because it was called Tea Time, or something like that for the soul. Let's see, because yeah, Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul was the original book, which I did have. Sorry, my thing shut down. Give me a minute. Oh, yeah. Let me just get my screensaver off. I think it's still going, but I just wanted to take it. I don't want to take any chances, so. Because, Yeah, his first book, actually, wait a minute. Actually, the first book was just self-titled. I didn't realize that. So, maybe that was the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I did actually buy both books. There's only 2 books in the series. He didn't do any after that. But the first one came in like number 1 on the sellers list years ago. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency was basically what it was called. It does come in an audio format, too. His books are generally easy to read, but for some reason, I just had a hard time reading that book. I did suffer through the first one. Now, see, that was weird, though, because I swear maybe this was his... actually, the Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul was the name of the book. But that was like the Dirk Gently book. That was the one actually I did remember reading, and that was about Dirk Gently. That was put out February 15th, 1991. So I'm going to look at the other one, what year that came out. If I can get some info. Because actually it was the Tea Time one I did buy. The other book came out on June 1st, 1991. They weren't too far apart, apparently, I guess, if I'm reading that correctly. But, and I even got the one about the Titanic, Starship Titanic, and that was just all material. They tried to make books even after he passed away, and they didn't do too well. Because they had enough material that Douglas Adams started with and just never really went too far with that they try to work and make more books out of. But yeah, there is 2 books, and again, on the Dirk Gently series, one's a self-titled, another one is basically the one I actually own from years ago. But yeah, there was a little bit of time travel in the first one, and a little bit of material, I guess, very loosely based upon the book that I read, or the books, I'm sure. And there was another one that actually kind of dove in the right direction as far as what Douglas Adams probably would have said, okay, this I would accept, but it was a very sloppily put together, unfortunately, episode at the same time. And I'm trying to look for the name because I have put away on my bookshelves again, or I stashed it away in my archives. The disc of the 3rd episode was called. Season 1, episode number 3 was shown on March 19th, 2012. That one was actually had a lot of promise to it. I think that was the right one. They're actually saying they had no titles for these episodes. But that one actually broke me up at the end. It was surprisingly very emotional. Once you figure out what they were trying to point out in this one particular episode. Let me see. There is a lot of people who do like the Dirk Gently series. You can pick it up for like $15. But I'm just like kind of mixed. I had to watch because I definitely liked Douglas Adams. but I was kind of mixed on my feelings for this show. And again, I think it was the third episode that actually really just got to me, because I could figure out these were a little bit predictable the way they were written storyline wise. But I think the thing that really got to me was he goes back to Cambridge, the character, but Cambridge was actually where Douglas Adams did go to college. Let me see if there is a name for that episode. No, they didn't name these episodes. That's kind of weird. I'll have to look on the box. I have the thing, but I don't think they named them at all. No extras either if you buy the disc, just to give you a heads up. But if it's the one I'm thinking of correctly, because I just, got through them tonight, he goes to a professor who basically was trying to set him up to, I don't know how to put it. He goes back to his old college, the character of Dirk Gently. I think it was the third episode that I'm thinking of. And he meets up with an old professor. And, the episode names titles was Pilot, Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 3. So there was actually only 4 episodes. Pilot would only mean there was only 3 episodes. But at least I give it a description to make sure. So that might help me explain myself. Because episode 2, then, because you don't include the pilot, which would technically be episode 3, Dirk is called back to his old university to protect a vulnerable robot, but within 24 hours it has been stolen and a dead body discovered, with Dirk and McDuff, that's the sidekick, being the prime suspects. That episode was really good. It was just really, really hard to follow. That was probably the best Dirk Gently episode, even though it did not have too much to do, in my opinion, with the books. I'm actually going to put this Wikipedia page up on my Facebook at this point. Anyway, as I'm trying to do it, that one was really emotional because what happened was you got all these super geniuses in the story at Cambridge that where the professor worked out of, who got Dirk apparently kicked out of college years ago because he just did not like Dirk Gently. He thought he was an idiot. So the professor says, "Oh no, I wasn't one of the people," which he was, who gets Dirk, thrown out of college at Cambridge. Which during Dirk's investigation, he finds out that he was. Now, the thing that was interesting, though, the professor mainly brought Dirk back just to have him as a person to blame, as the professor was taking all this money from the university to help keep his daughter alive, who was brain dead for many years. And that was the gist of the story, though. So it was kind of like complicated, more complicated, believe it or not, than the way I'm explaining it. But he needed to find a reason, because like what he basically did was he actually made a replica robot of his brain dead daughter, and but it cost the university tons of money. So he called in Dirk, and then had his robot mysteriously disappear, so he could blame Dirk for stealing the robot or something on that line. I can't exactly remember now, even though I just watched it tonight. So what happened, though, was in this particular episode, the robot does disappear, and there was another story going on, because usually what they did was there was 2 stories that, 2 different cases that Dirk would work on all 4 episodes, even though it was technically 3 because of the pilot. And both cases would basically, even though they were completely opposite from each other, kind of formulated the solution to the investigation. If that does not make any sense, I wouldn't be surprised, but that's the way they work this show. And it usually did not work until the very end, actually on all 4 episodes, technically 3 again. This particular one was one of them, but it was just extremely heart-wrenching at the very end. That's why it's my favorite now, which was technically the second one, which was really the 3rd episode. I know I don't make any sense at this point. So what happened was the case consisted of some woman who worked at Cambridge in this lab who had invented a supercomputer that basically was going to be smarter than any human being, and it would have been she was working on a computer that would actually become a living thing, so to speak. Like this robot, this computer program would eventually be a living entity, a program that could actually think, not breathe, but could think and live as like a real human being could. So this lady was always at the brinks of making this thing become real, this program, this computer program, but it always seemed to get disrupted. And then obviously another thing was funding was constantly getting pulled because of this professor putting all this money into keeping his daughter alive, who was brain dead. He literally, in his office, had set up a hospital room hidden from his office, and basically kept his daughter there, this professor, for years on life support, which cost he couldn't afford to pay. So he basically set up a hospital room at at Cambridge, a secret room, to basically pay for not only this robot, because he also invented this robot that was a replica of his daughter, but also to he used as an excuse, basically, this robot, but that really worked. It was lifelike, too. It looked just like his daughter. But the money that he was actually filtering from the college was just to pay for the equipment to keep his daughter on life support for, like, I think 20-some years or something like that. Or maybe it was less. I don't know the timeline they were using. So you kind of figured out, though, because during this process of this episode, or during this episode, the robot does disappear. The professor who made this robot gets murdered, and Dirk gets blamed for it, which was not part of this professor's plan. And this program seems that it had taken life. This program this woman was making at this university, I'm not sure if she was also a professor, the first human, a life a program that actually would be a some type of and I don't want to use the word entity, but like would be some type of being of some sort. It started working. It actually was communicating with its creator, this woman, but then it all of a sudden mysteriously just disappeared. So the bottom line is this program disappeared. That was actually taken, so to speak, taken on birth or a life. This program that would be the first program that was a thinking program disappeared. The robot disappeared. And during Dirk's investigation, he finds the missing robot, but he also was questioning this hidden hospital room that was made by the deceased professor. So you kind of figure it out. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it. I think actually, believe it or not, you could actually find this episode or the episodes. I didn't know that at first. I found that out just tonight looking. You can actually you can find these stories, these episodes. You can watch them online. They're not that expensive to buy, so. But either way, yeah. But the whole thing was, though, I kind of figured it out pretty quickly. But when you did figure out and it came true, it was just more heart-wrenching. The robot that came, or no, not the robot, the computer program that came to life and had taken on its own entity, became a living thing, decided, had asked a question that was in the episode. And the question was, how long is the lifespan of a human being, which would be approximately 70 years. And the program, since it is a program that now was a living thing, a living program, would live forever because it's not really a human being. So what the program did was it activated the robot that was basically a lifeless husk, and it put the program put itself, that this woman had made in this episode, into this robot, because it wanted to feel, now that it could think and, could do everything else, it wanted to actually live life, so to speak. So this episode could have been probably put together a little bit better, but the end result was incredible, and to say the least, it was very emotional. But what happened, though, the robot not only put itself into to this robot body, this program that was actually a thinking being or entity or whatever you want to call it, it found, I guess, actually probably was embedded into the robot that this professor had made. It realized that this professor who made the robot had kept his daughter alive even though she was brain dead. So, basically you had the housing of a body with, no brain, the brain was dead, and this program decided that, who had placed itself into this robot, decided, I can once again give this body life, and I can, that's why I was actually asking too, how long is the lifespan of a human? So it wanted to live its life, not forever, but it wanted to live for the lifespan of a human being. So it had placed itself, the program had placed itself into this professor's brain dead daughter, who brought her back to life, but it was literally this program with some of the memories of the daughter. So the professor, though, got angry. You find out at the very end of the episode, and tried to stop the robot. He says, try to kill the robot, or kill now his daughter, who had a new life, a new mind inside her body. He's like, you can't do this. And so the robot, in defense, end up accidentally killing the professor. And so you find out at the very end on this Dirk Gently episode that, again, it was very emotional, and I apologize because I'm not doing, a good job at all of explaining myself. But yeah, you find out, Dirk finds out that he figured out that this, because I didn't mention this. I did a really bad job. So again, I do apologize. That there was this mysterious girl that showed up who was actually rather attracted to Dirk Gently, who you find out was the brain dead daughter of this professor. And he figures out that, there was this, it was kind of really interesting because, again, I apologize for not doing a better job of explaining this episode of Dirk Gently, the TV show. But she found a fascination because the first person she actually was able to communicate on any level was Dirk Gently, besides the professor who tried to kill what was like left of his daughter. And also she, for the first time, like being born into a human body, was amazed because they kind of gave a hint where she goes into this kind of like a fish place, like a fish and chips type place, and orders like a plethora of like fish and chips, like more than enough for like 50 people. And it's like, because I've never, she's actually, I was in one Doctor Who, like, to smell air and taste food, like that's what life's about, is your senses. Like she, had senses for the first time. It wasn't just a program. It was a human being that lived once again. So it was very emotional. And Dirk Gently actually turned himself in the end of this episode, so that this new human being could actually live her existence. And he was later dismissed. There's certain things I'm not bringing up on this particular episode because I just did a really bad job of explaining myself. But, I found myself in tears at the end of this. It was really emotional. It was like, if only this show was, put together probably a little bit better, maybe with some better writers. And personally, I think if they would have followed the books a little bit more closely, I think it would have definitely had a lot of potential as a show. But unfortunately, give me one moment. I got to just open up my thing, so you're going to hear a pause for a moment. And it's longer than expected. Sorry about that. Yeah, it locked my screen, and I have a password I got to put in, so I got to make sure I'm still recording, because I don't want to like talk and have not what I'm saying recorded. But it depends on the Dirk Gently thing. There's a bunch of other stories that just came up, but I don't want to be on for like 5 hours just talking about every story that just came up on Facebook on some stories. And some of them were pretty rancid. So that could be for even another day at this point on these stories. But yeah, either way, it was just something I just wanted to incorporate, because I'm trying to keep my, my stuff on if I can, on more of an entertainment basis. I mean, I know I progressively or generally put a lot of incorporate a lot of stories that I read, and sometimes it's best if I just keep it on an entertainment level, because it's just a blogcast. And if I can always add more to it, I will, but preferably I just like to keep it kind of simple and stupid, that way I don't get myself in too much trouble. So everyone, I'm going to be signing off, and like I said, it is going on Monday morning now, so this is good. So I hope you enjoyed what I did tonight, and I can technically say at this point it's have a good morning, because it is Monday morning now, and I will be signing off. So, thanks again for those who listen in those different areas, and I always encourage more people to listen in if they will, just to kind of get me something. I don't get anything. This is no money. I'm making no money on doing this. No profits. Nothing. It's just doing this to have something to do, and hopefully in the future maybe I can make this more than just a non-profit thing that I do. Something I can actually have as a job. I'd like to do something where I could actually be a radio announcer. Not, the top thing on my list, but I'll take it. So I'm sorry, because I'm keep on leaning over and I'm away from my mic, and you can hear that. So thanks again, and I'm signing off for this Monday morning officially Monday morning on January 18th. So thanks again for listening and sticking through the night of me talking about, different things. So again, this is Walter from iWalter. signing off for now.